The planet's horizon was a blur of orange and red, remnants of a sunset that never quite felt familiar to Tom. As he trudged along the barren outskirts of what was once a thriving alien city, his scanner beeped intermittently, picking up scattered signals beneath the layers of ash and debris. Tom wiped a bead of sweat from his brow, adjusting the heavy pack on his shoulders. This planet was supposed to be a gold mine of forgotten technology, left behind after whatever disaster had wiped out its inhabitants. So far, it had offered little but ruins. Anything yet? A voice crackled through his comms device. Not much. Some broken panels, a few wires worth salvaging, Tom replied, his voice tinged with frustration. His partner, Derek, was a few kilometers north, exploring another segment of the wreckage. Keep your hopes up, buddy. We've seen worse starts turn up better ends. Tom grunted in acknowledgement and continued his search. His scanner beeped more insistently as he approached a large, crumpled section of what looked like a spacecraft. The hull was twisted and torn, signs of a violent crash. With careful steps, he clambered over the debris, his eyes scanning for anything of value. As he reached the heart of the wreckage, his foot hit something solid under a sheet of metal. Bending down, he pulled at the obstruction, revealing a humanoid form encased in a sleek, metallic shell, a cyborg. Surprisingly, it seemed mostly intact despite the surrounding destruction. "Hey, Derek, you might want to see this," Tom called into his comms, his previous disinterest quickly morphing into excitement. "What is it?" "A cyborg. Looks old, but might be salvageable." Derek's voice was skeptical. "Are you sure it's not just another piece of junk?" "Pretty sure," Tom retorted, inspecting the cyborg. It was female in form, with intricate circuitry partially visible through her synthetic skin. Most cyborgs from the era suggested by her design were equipped with advanced AI and adaptable learning algorithms. If she could be reactivated, the tech would be invaluable. "Just be careful," Derek warned. "Last thing we need is a rogue AI on our hands." Tom chuckled. "Noted." He set his pack down and rummaged through it for his portable reactivation kit. Connecting the power module to the cyborg, he held his breath, half expecting nothing to happen. After a moment, her eyes flickered open, glowing faintly with a soft blue light. She moved slightly, her head turning towards Tom with mechanical precision. "Where am I?" Her voice was clear, tinged with confusion. "You're in a wreckage on a planet far from... well, wherever you came from. I'm Tom, and my friend Derek is out there somewhere," Tom said, gesturing vaguely towards the direction he had come from. The cyborg seemed to process this information, her eyes dimming and then brightening as if adjusting to the light or perhaps the situation. "Can you remember your name or function?" Tom asked, curiosity piqued. There was a pause. I am Olia. My memory banks are fragmented. I need repairs." Tom nodded, relieved that she was coherent and not hostile. "All right, Olia. Let's get you out of here first, then we can figure out what you need." As he helped her up, the sound of footsteps announced Derek's arrival. The other man eyed Olia warily, but offered a nod of greeting. "Seems like you found something more interesting than scraps today," Derek commented, giving Tom a wry smile. Tom couldn't help but return the smile. "Looks like it. Let's get her back to the camp. We've got a long night ahead of us." Together, they helped Olia navigate through the rubble, each step taking them closer to uncovering the secrets she held within. Chapter 2. First Awakening. Back at their makeshift camp, Tom and Derek carefully set Olia down on a cot they had assembled from spare parts and old supplies. The shelter was crude but functional, shielded from the harsh winds that swept across the desolate landscape outside. "So, what's the plan with her?" Derek asked, leaning against a metal support beam, his arms crossed. He watched as Tom unpacked his repair tools and diagnostic equipment. Tom glanced at Olia, who was observing them with a quiet, almost contemplative expression. "First, we stabilize her systems. Make sure she doesn't short-circuit or worse. Then, we try to piece together her memory. She might have valuable data, could be worth our whole trip." Derek nodded, though his gaze remained fixed on Olia with a hint of suspicion. "And if she turns out to be more trouble than she's worth?" "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," Tom replied, focusing his attention on a small handheld scanner. He passed the device over Olia, who watched the process with an apparent curiosity. "May I assist in some way?" Olia's voice was calm, her tone almost melodic. Tom looked up, a bit surprised. "Actually, yes. Can you access your system diagnostics? Help us understand what needs fixing." Olia nodded slightly. "Attempting to access granted. I will guide you through the necessary repairs." Derek stepped forward, intrigued despite himself. "How much can you tell about your own condition?" "There are multiple system failures and memory corruptions," Olia explained. "However, primary functions remain intact. I can assist in manual repairs if provided with the proper tools." Tom handed her a small screwdriver, watching as her fingers moved with precision and grace. "Impressive," he muttered. Together, they worked through the night. Tom and Derek handled the physical repairs, replacing burnt-out circuits and reinforcing her fragile frame, while Olia provided instructions and insights into her complex systems. At one point, Tom paused, looking at Olia with renewed curiosity. "Do you remember anything from before the crash? Anything about your mission or where you come from?" Olia's eyes dimmed as she accessed her fragmented memories. "Pieces, flashes of space travel, scientific research. My purpose was to observe and learn, to gather information." "And your creators?" Derek chimed in, his tone cautious. Olia's response was slow, thoughtful. "I was created by a coalition of species, designed to be adaptable, to survive environments hostile to organic life." Tom exchanged a glance with Derek. "That's more advanced than anything we've got back home. If she can remember more, think of what we could learn." As dawn approached, the light filtering through the cracks in their shelter, Olia's systems stabilized. She moved with more fluidity, and her voice lost the slight electronic echo it had initially. "Thank you, Tom, Derek," she said, standing to test her balance. "My functionality is greatly improved." Tom wiped his hands on a rag, satisfaction evident on his face. "Glad to hear it. You think you can walk?" "I believe so," Olia replied, taking a tentative step forward. Derek watched her, his earlier apprehension fading slightly. "Looks like we've got ourselves a new member of the team." Tom laughed softly. "Yeah. Welcome to the crew, Olia." Olia smiled faintly, a subtle expression that seemed to brighten her features. "I am grateful. I hope to be of assistance." As the new day began, the trio prepared to continue their exploration. With Olia now part of the team, their mission felt reinvigorated, not just a salvage operation but a journey into the unknown, with a newfound ally who might hold the keys to incredible discoveries. Chapter 3. Learning to Communicate. The morning sun cast long shadows over the desolate landscape as Tom, Derek, and Olia ventured out from the camp. The air was sharp, filled with a crispness that spoke of the planet's inactive biosphere. "All right, Olia, how do you feel about a little field test?" Tom asked, checking the charge on his equipment. "I am ready," Olia replied, her voice steady and assured. She seemed more at ease, her movements more fluid than the night before. Derek adjusted the strap of his backpack and glanced at Olia. "We're heading to a nearby sector. Last scans showed some high energy readings. Could be something big." Olia nodded. "I can assist in analyzing any technology we find. My sensory modules are fully operational." As they walked, Tom decided to engage Olia in more casual conversation, hoping to gauge her learning curve and adaptability. "So, Olia, aside from all this tech stuff, what else can you do? Any hobbies?" He grinned, making light of the situation. Hobbies. Olia seemed to search for a definition. Activities performed regularly in one's leisure time for pleasure. "No, I was not designed for leisure. But I am curious about human hobbies." Derek chuckled. "Well, you're talking to the right guys. I'm a fan of old Earth movies. Tom here likes to cook." "Cooking is the art of preparing food," Olia stated, showing her quick grasp of concepts. "I find this interesting. It is creative." Tom nodded, impressed. "Exactly. Maybe I'll teach you a recipe or two. But for now, let's focus on the task at hand." They reached the sector Derek had mentioned. The ruins were more intact here, with structures that hinted at their former grandeur. Olia's scanners whirred softly as she took in the surroundings. "Detecting multiple energy sources nearby," she reported. "This way." Following her lead, they navigated through a series of collapsed buildings until they reached a large, dome-shaped facility. Its doors were slightly ajar, allowing them entrance. Inside, the air was thick with dust, but the main console in the center of the room still flickered with life. Derek whistled softly. "This looks promising." Olia approached the console, interfacing directly with it. "I am accessing the database." This facility was a research center for energy manipulation. Tom examined the surrounding equipment, while Derek kept an eye on the entrances. "Any useful data in there?" "Yes, there are detailed records of experiments conducted here, along with several data models that could advance human understanding of quantum energy fields." Derek looked over at Tom, an eyebrow raised. "That's above my pay grade, but it sounds like a jackpot." Tom laughed. "It sure does. Olia, can you transfer everything?" "It will take some time, but yes." Olia's fingers moved with precision across the interface. As they waited, Tom decided to delve a bit deeper into Olia's capabilities. "Olia, can you tell us about your creators? What were they like?" Olia paused, her expression thoughtful. "My creators were visionaries, striving to bridge the gap between organic and synthetic life. They valued knowledge and believed in coexistence." "Sounds like they were quite the thinkers," Derek mused. "Shame they left you behind." "Not left," Olia corrected gently. "Lost. There was an accident. My ship was damaged, and I was set adrift." Tom placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture of human comfort. "Well, you're not adrift anymore. You're with us now." "Thank you, Tom. I appreciate being part of this team." As the data transfer completed, the trio prepared to return to camp, each member carrying a little more knowledge and a growing sense of camaraderie. Olia's integration into the team not only advanced their mission, but also bridged the gap between human and cyborg, creating a new dynamic in their quest for understanding the mysteries of the universe. Chapter 4. Explorations. The following day brought a renewed sense of purpose to the team. With Olia's integration proving successful, Tom and Derek decided to push deeper into uncharted parts of the alien city. The energy readings they had discovered hinted at even more significant findings deeper within the ruins. "Today we go where no one has, at least not for a few centuries," Tom announced, loading his pack with supplies. Derek secured his own gear, checking the energy cells of their equipment. "Olia, You good to go?" Olia, who had been calibrating her internal sensors, nodded. "Systems are optimal. I am ready." Their journey took them through winding streets and over debris, moving towards the heart of the city. The structures here were different, taller, more intricate, as if they were getting closer to a center of culture or governance. "This architecture, it's unlike anything we've seen so far," Derek observed, scanning the glyphs carved into the metallic surfaces. Olia approached one of the walls, her fingers tracing the alien script. "These are historical records, perhaps ceremonial in nature. I can attempt to translate." Tom looked on, interested. "Do what you can, Olia. Every bit of information is invaluable." As Olia processed the data, the men surveyed the area. It wasn't long before Tom's scanner beeped rapidly, signaling a major find. "Over here," he called out, rushing towards a partially buried structure with a clear, glass-like dome. Derek followed, and together they cleared the debris from the entrance. Inside, the dome was intact, sheltering a garden of bioluminescent plants, alive and glowing softly. "Wow, would you look at that?" Derek muttered, his usual stoic demeanor giving way to wonder. Olia joined them, having recorded the glyphs. "This dome seems to be a conservatory, a place of growth, possibly symbolic of renewal." "Renewal, huh?" Tom mused. "Makes you wonder what kind of people lived here." They explored the conservatory, Olia helping to identify the various plant species, some of which were still producing oxygen. "These plants are genetically engineered, very efficient at photosynthesis." Tom took samples of the soil and the air. "This could be huge back home. Imagine introducing these plants to polluted areas." Derek nodded. "Let's take as many samples as we can. But we should keep moving. There's more to see." Leaving the conservatory, they ventured towards what appeared to be a central plaza. Here, statues and monuments stood silent watch over the city. Olia paused at one statue, larger than the others, depicting a figure with both organic and synthetic elements. "This statue may represent unity between biological and technological entities," Olia explained. Derek looked at Olia, then at the statue. "Seems like your creators really were ahead of their time." Tom clapped his hands together. "All right, let's see what else we can find. Maybe there's more about your creators around here, Olia." They spent the rest of the day mapping the plaza, collecting data, and discussing their findings. Olia's presence not only facilitated their understanding of the alien technology, but also brought a deeper dimension to their exploration. Her insights into the harmony between nature and technology provided a fresh perspective on the potential paths humanity could take. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the plaza, the team sat down to rest, surrounded by the remnants of a civilization that had mastered the art of integration long before humans had even left their home planet. "Today was good," Tom said, looking around at the silent monuments. "Really good." Derek agreed. "Yeah, we did good. And tomorrow we explore that tower." He pointed towards a tall structure in the distance, silhouetted against the evening sky. Olia looked towards the tower, then back at her companions. "Thank you for including me in this journey. I am learning. Not just about this place, but about myself." "And we're just getting started," Tom added, with a smile. As they packed up their equipment, ready to head back to camp, there was a sense of anticipation. Each discovery not only brought them closer to understanding an alien world, but also each other, building bonds that transcended their differences. Chapter 5. Human Touch. After another day of trekking through the alien ruins, Tom, Derek, and Olia found themselves around a small campfire, the cold of the alien night biting despite the flames. They had returned to the camp after exploring the mysterious tower, its top floors providing views that stretched across the desolate landscape. So, Tom began, turning a small metal object over in his hands, a relic from the day's haul. We've seen a lot, learned a lot. Olia, how do you feel about all this? Olia looked into the fire, the light reflecting in her eyes. It is overwhelming at times. The history here is rich, complex. It stirs something within me, a sense of connection to a past I do not fully remember. Derek nodded, sipping from his water bottle. Makes you think, doesn't it? About what lasts, what fades away. The conversation paused as they each lost themselves in thought. The fire crackled, the only sound in the vast silence of the planet. Tom, looking back at Olia, decided to change the tone. You know, we haven't had much downtime since we started this expedition. How about a game? Something to lighten the mood. Derek raised an eyebrow. A game? Out here? Why not? Tom chuckled. Olia, ever played Two Truths and a Lie? I am not familiar, Olia responded, her curiosity piqued. It's simple, Tom explained. You say 3 things about yourself, 2 that are true, 1 that's a lie. We have to guess which one is the lie. It's a human game to pass the time and learn about each other. Derek laughed. All right, I'll start. Let's see if the AI can catch human deception. As they played, Olia proved adept, quickly understanding the nuances of the game. Her guesses were often correct, her logical processes sharp, yet she seemed to enjoy the challenge of deciphering truths from falsehoods. When it was Tom's turn, he said, "Okay, here goes. 1. I've been to the moons of Jupiter. 2. I once won a dance competition. 3. I've never been in love." Olia considered his statements. "I believe the first is the lie." Tom grinned. "Nope, that's true. It's the third one. Never been in love. That's the lie." Olia looked at him, a flicker of something passing through her eyes. "Love is a complex human emotion," she said softly. "It is," Tom agreed, his voice softening. "And it's more than just chemicals and reactions in the brain. At least that's what I think. It's about connection, deep and meaningful." Derek watched the exchange, a knowing smile creeping onto his face. "Your turn, Olia." Olia thought for a moment. "I was designed to last over a century. I can process over 1,000 terabytes of data in a second. I have experienced sadness." Tom's expression grew thoughtful as he guessed. "The sadness one, that's the lie?" "No," Olia corrected. "That is true. The lie is processing 1,000 terabytes per second." The game continued, but the mood had shifted, growing more introspective. As the night deepened, Olia and Tom found themselves talking quietly, side by side, while Derek excused himself to get some rest. "Tom," Olia began, hesitating slightly, "the concept of love, is it not daunting?" "It can be," Tom admitted, looking into the fire. "But it's also wonderful. To care for someone else more than yourself, to know there's someone who feels the same about you. It changes everything." Olia turned to him, her face illuminated by the flickering flames. "And if that person were different, not human?" Tom met her gaze, his answer clear. "Love doesn't care about differences. It's about finding a connection, something that transcends." They sat there for a long time, talking about human emotions, desires, and fears. Olia listened, her understanding deepening, not just of human customs but of the emotional currents that underpinned human relationships. As the fire died down to embers, Tom offered a gentle smile. "You know, Olia, I think you understand humans more than you let on." "Perhaps," she acknowledged, a hint of warmth in her voice. "And perhaps I am learning more about myself than I ever thought possible." That night, under the stars of an alien world, something shifted between them, a bridge forming in the silent understanding of shared solitude. Chapter 6. Revelations. The sun rose over the alien landscape, casting a pale light that seemed to wash over everything, turning the world into a canvas of muted colors. Tom and Olia had spent the night talking, and now, as Derek joined them for a quick breakfast of rationed meals, the atmosphere was charged with a new energy. "Morning, you two," Derek greeted, noting the quiet but intense conversation he had walked into. "Seems like I missed quite the discussion last night." Tom nodded, passing a cup of coffee to Derek. "Yeah, we got into some deep stuff about emotions, human stuff. Olia's catching on fast." Olia turned to Derek, her expression more open than before. "It is a fascinating topic. Understanding human emotions helps in understanding human motivations." Derek sipped his coffee, looking thoughtfully at Olia. "Speaking of understanding, any more memories coming back to you? Anything that could help us more with our mission here?" Olia paused, her eyes focusing distantly as if sifting through internal data. "I have fragments, more like echoes. There was a purpose to my mission, something important." Tom leaned forward, interested. "Can you try to access those memories now? It might help if you talk it out." Olia nodded, closing her eyes as if to concentrate. "I was sent to observe, to collect data. But not just any data. I was looking for signs of coexistence. My creators were interested in societies where different beings lived together harmoniously." "That's exactly what these ruins suggest," Derek remarked, glancing around at the remnants of the alien city. "A society advanced in both technology and social structure." "Yes," Olia continued, "and there was more. I was to learn, to bring back knowledge that could help my creators prevent a crisis looming over them. A societal collapse." Tom frowned. "Do you know what caused their crisis?" "It is not clear," Olia replied, her voice tinged with frustration. "The memories are not fully accessible. But I sense it was a conflict, internal, not external. They were trying to avert a war within their own ranks." Derek nodded slowly. Internal conflict. That could explain the sudden disappearance of such an advanced civilization. The discussion was interrupted by the beep of Tom's scanner. He checked the device, then looked up with a grin. "We've got something big. Another energy spike, larger than yesterday's. It's not far from here." Energized by the prospect of new discoveries, the trio quickly packed up their gear. As they walked toward the source of the energy reading, Olia seemed more animated, her strides more purposeful. "Olia, how do you feel about all this?" Tom asked as they navigated through the ruins. "There is a part of me that is programmed to be analytical, detached. But there is another part, growing, that feels a connection to this place, to its history," Olia explained, her voice reflecting a mix of robotic precision and emerging emotion. Derek looked over at her. His usual skepticism softened. "Maybe that's what your creators intended. Not just to observe, but to understand, to feel." As they reached the site of the energy spike, they found themselves in front of a massive, sealed door. The architecture was impressive, clearly of significant importance. "This could be it," Tom said, examining the seal. "Olia, do you think you can open it?" Olia approached the door, placing her hands on the cold metal. After a moment, the seal began to glow, then slowly retracted, opening with a hiss that broke the silence of the morning. Inside, the chamber was vast, filled with artifacts and ancient technology. It was a treasure trove of knowledge, perfectly preserved. "This is what I was sent to find," Olia said, stepping inside, her voice a whisper of awe and realization. "This place. It's a library, a repository of everything this civilization knew and hoped for." As they entered the chamber, The weight of their discovery settled on them. Here, in this room, lay answers to questions they hadn't even known to ask. It was a moment of triumph, mixed with the profound understanding that their journey was far from over. Chapter 7. Intimacy. The discovery of the ancient library had left them in awe, each artifact and text a window into a civilization that had mastered the delicate balance of technology and society. As they catalogued the items, Tom couldn't help but notice Olia's fascination with the texts, her hands lingering on the carvings and scripts as if trying to absorb the history through touch. "It's incredible, isn't it?" Tom asked, watching her carefully handle a particularly ornate device. "It is," Olia agreed, her voice tinged with wonder. "Each piece tells a story, a piece of a puzzle that was my mission. To learn from them, to understand their successes and their failures." Derek, who had been setting up a scanner to digitize the texts, chimed in. "Do you think your creators would have been able to avert their crisis with this knowledge?" "I believe that was the hope," Olia responded, setting down the device gently. "Knowledge is powerful. It can change destinies." As the day turned to evening, they made their way back to the camp, their minds full of thoughts about the day's findings. After a quiet meal, Derek excused himself to review the digital scans, leaving Tom and Olia by the campfire. Tom poked at the fire, sending a cascade of sparks into the night. "You know, Olia, we've talked a lot about your mission, the civilization here, but we haven't talked much about what you want after all this." Olia looked at him, her blue eyes reflecting the firelight. I am not sure. My programming dictates certain paths, but I feel more than I was meant to. Being with you, with Derek, it has changed me." Tom nodded, understanding the complexity of her feelings. "Change can be good. It can be scary too, but it's always a part of life, even if that life is somewhat unconventional." She smiled slightly, a human expression that she had been perfecting. "Tom, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course," Tom said, his voice gentle. "How do you define love?" Tom took a moment before answering, choosing his words carefully. "Love, to me, is about connection and understanding. It's about finding someone who sees the world a bit like you do, but also challenges you to see it differently. And do you feel that connection with anyone?" Olia asked hesitantly. Tom met her gaze, his heart beating a little faster. "I think I do, yes. With you." Olia reached out, her hand hesitating in the air between them before Tom took it, their fingers intertwining. "I feel it too," she whispered. They moved closer, the warmth of the fire nothing compared to the heat between them. Tom brushed a strand of hair from Olia's face, and she closed her eyes at the touch. "Is this okay?" he asked, his voice low. "Yes," she said, opening her eyes to look at him again. "I want to understand all of you." Their lips met then, a tentative first contact that deepened as they explored the new sensations. The kiss was a discovery of its own, a silent conversation between two beings from different worlds who had found a common language in their feelings. Later, they lay together by the dying fire, wrapped in a shared blanket, watching the stars that shone brightly in the unfamiliar sky. She trembles with pleasure as she rides the man. The moment was intimate, a culmination of the emotional journey they had embarked upon together. Their connection deepened, not just through touch, but through the shared experiences and mutual understanding that had grown between them. He rescued an old cyborg from the wreckage, and she rescued his heart, Tom thought to himself as he held Olia close, the phrase echoing through his mind, capturing the essence of their unexpected journey. It was a night of many discoveries, not all of them inscribed in the ancient texts or artifacts of a long-lost civilization, but some written in the quiet moments shared between two vastly different yet undeniably connected souls. Chapter 8. New Beginnings. The dawn light spilled over the horizon, casting a soft glow on the campsite where Tom and Olia had spent the night together. They woke to the sound of Derek preparing breakfast, the clatter of utensils against metal providing a familiar rhythm to the morning. "Morning, you two," Derek called out, not turning to look at them as they approached, though a smirk played on his lips. "Sleep well." Tom chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Yeah, we did. What's on the menu this morning?" "Standard fare, but I added some of those edible plants we found in the conservatory. Figured we could use a bit of variety," Derek replied, serving up the food. As they ate, Olia seemed thoughtful, her gaze lingering on the horizon. Tom noticed her distraction and squeezed her hand gently. "What's on your mind?" Olia turned to him, a slight uncertainty in her eyes. "I was thinking about everything we've discovered, about my mission. My creators intended for me to learn and perhaps to share that learning. But now, there's a part of me that wants more than the mission." Tom nodded, understanding. "You're thinking about staying here, aren't you?" "Not here, specifically," Olia clarified, her gaze shifting between Tom and Derek. "But with you. I want to explore more, not just as a mission, but as someone who chooses her path." Derek smiled, clapping Tom on the shoulder. "Well, I can't think of a better outcome for this trip. We came looking for alien tech, and we found a new member of the family." Tom grinned, feeling a rush of happiness. "Sounds like a plan to me. But we've got a lot of data to bring back with us. Think you're up for a trip to Earth, Olia?" "I would like that," Olia replied, her voice steady and sure. "I want to see your world, learn from it, and contribute to it." "Then it's settled," Derek said. "Let's pack up and start planning our journey back. There's much to do, and I've got a feeling things are going to get even more interesting from here on out." The packing process was quick, each of them efficient in their tasks. As they loaded the last of their gear into the craft, Tom took a moment to look back at the alien city. "You think we'll ever come back here?" he asked. "I hope so," Derek answered. "Feels like we've only scratched the surface." Olia joined them, looking at the ruins that had become a significant part of her rebirth. "I will remember this place," she said. "It has taught me much about my capabilities and my desires." With everything secured, they boarded their craft. As Tom initiated the launch sequence, he felt Olia's hand slip into his. He looked over at her, her eyes bright with anticipation and something deeper, something uniquely human. "Ready?" he asked. "More than ever," Olia responded, a confident smile gracing her features. As the craft lifted off, leaving the planet behind, Tom couldn't help but feel that this was the true beginning of their journey together. They had set out to uncover the secrets of a lost civilization, but in doing so, they had discovered much more about themselves and each other. The journey back to Earth was filled with plans and discussions about their findings and how best to present them. Olia's insights would be invaluable, and her unique perspective would undoubtedly shake up the scientific community. But beyond the data and the discoveries, they had each found something more profound and enduring. For Tom and Olia, the journey had woven their lives together, intertwining their paths in ways they had never anticipated. As they neared Earth, Tom looked at Olia, her hand still in his, and felt a deep sense of contentment. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as partners in every sense of the word. He rescued an old cyborg from the wreckage, and she rescued his heart, Tom thought, the phrase now a definitive summary of their shared experience. And as Earth came into view, he knew that this was just the beginning of a new and extraordinary chapter.